Hello, and welcome to another episode of Topical Cure, the only news show willing to say the world isn't actually ending and everything you're worried about is actually more boring and inconsequential than you anticipated. F*** the ratings. I know, it's not sustainable at all. Anyway, I'm your two-dimensional, monotonously handsome anchor, Soren Bowie. And all week we've been covering the the Republican National Convention. Thanks to a live feed, we've watched every second of this RNC for the past 8 years, it feels like. And we just want to start with a few of the best moments we scooped out from the otherwise placid White Sea. Laura Ingraham accidentally dropped a hard Sieg Heil on the audience at the end of her speech. Trump intentionally patted his daughter's butt right out where just everyone could see. Brock Mueller called Trump a one-percenter without realizing the word already has some pretty notorious connotations. Peter Thiel and even Trump himself acknowledged that members of the LGBT community are human.
LGBTQ community.
There was a lot more fear rhetoric.
Americans will likely die on American soil, possibly in large numbers.
And of course, Senator Ted Cruz refused to endorse Donald Trump or even say his name like a scared child playing Bloody Mary in the bathroom.
Vote your conscience. Vote for candidates up and down the ticket who you trust to defend our freedom and to be faithful to the Constitution.
And while I get Ted Cruz not wanting to glowingly mention the man who publicly implied that his father was the co-mastermind of Kennedy's death, it made us realize that no one was actually that willing to use his name. The majority of speeches from political OGs like Rubio, Christie, and Carson said Trump so sparingly that, according to WordCloud, Hillary Clinton's name was not only said more than the candidates they were there to support, but the position the candidate was running for and the country they were currently inside of.
Hillary Clinton.
Keep in mind, this is his convention, not Hillary's. A man who loves his name so much that he puts it on the sides of towers and even on the RNC stage in size 2 million font. He is, according to most headlines, more powerful and influential than any living human. He is larger than life, and depending on who you ask, either our savior or harbinger of our demise. He's a giant. This was Donald's birthday week, his introduction to American voters, and he brought all of the banners and party favors. But nobody seemed that interested in talking about him. Vice President candidate Mike Pence, who may have been chosen simply because his last name rhymes with fence, barely even mentioned his running mate. Instead, he delivered a bland, toothless speech that could have easily been written, 30 years ago for somebody else. And hey, maybe it was. I don't know. Was My Little Pony around back then?
And where else would an independent spirit like his find a following?
An independent spirit? That's something you say about your least favorite child, the one trying to be a musician, not the man you hope to be our commander-in-chief. But I guess why wouldn't that be the case? Those other politicians don't know anything about Trump because Trump isn't a politician. He's a businessman, an outsider, a rebel. That's why we're supposed to like him. Surely Trump's former business associates, though, will give us some insight into the real man. This is Phil Ruffin, a real estate mogul, casino owner, and Mo Green wannabe, and one of Donald Trump's few friends that was actually asked to speak this week.
We're in Palm Beach with Robert Kraft. Donald had a house on the ocean.
Oh my God, you are so bad at this. Not just bad at humanizing Donald Trump, but fully terrible at telling a compelling story. Millions of people are watching you, and none of them know your pal, Robert Kraft. Let's see what Tom Barrack, Donald's other best friend, has to say.
So I'm going to use words that you probably haven't heard about Donald.
White-handed. No. Normal. No. Donald's definitely not one of those hairless cats dressed up in a suit. No. I'll let you go. You go first.
He played me like a Steinway piano.
Okay, well, technically he's right. I have never heard anyone say that about Donald Trump or anyone else. Remember, conventions are designed to make us like the candidate on a personal level. So far, all we've got are politicians who won't mention Trump and alleged friends who can only talk about Trump in terms of the deals he's made in rich guy metaphors. Which is weird. But the weirdest thing surrounding Donald Trump all night was his children. I mean, not literally, the kids are fine. Relatively fine. On the outside, at least. Most of the speakers and a lot of the press surrounding the event talked about how great, or at the very least normal, all of Trump's children appeared to be. A lot of people extrapolated further that if his kids are good, it must be a reflection on Donald's own goodness, despite ever-growing piles of evidence to the contrary. But when asked to speak, Donald's kids had about half an anecdote between them. Tiffany said her dad called her when her best friend died. Donald Jr. and Eric only talked about his skills as a businessman, and his favorite daughter, Ivanka, brought up the most important thing he ever said to her.
If you're going to be thinking anyway, you might as well think big.
Which, it turned out to be just a line from his book written by someone else. Well, at least now we know that Donald reads to his kids at night. And if you thought you'd get to know the real Donald in his speech, you thought wrong, my friend. It turns out that the 4 days of convention were just foreplay. We thought we were building to some glorious finish when we could finally meet our demigod, the one who builds skyscrapers with his bare hands, who loves his children neither too little nor too much, and has plenty of minority friends. Hell, the goddamn backdrop to his speech had so many American flags that, well, I bought a truck. I don't even know how it happened. It just felt like something I needed to do. You know, at the very least, we were salivating for the most politically incorrect, rated mature, commanding dick talk we had heard all election. But when it finally arrived, it was long, boring, and dry. Ew.
It is finally time. I alone can fix it. Will be able to visit the doctor or hospital and record immigration. I wonder sometimes what he'd say.
We were promised this amazing climax with his speech, and when we finally got a peek behind the curtain, all we saw was a hunched 70-year-old man trying to eye-kiss another old guy. The party of red states left us with a nationwide case of blue balls. It was a lot of bread and pathetically little meat. His entire life, journalists have described Donald Trump as a man who's fundamentally hard to know. The millions of dollars and hundreds of man-hours spent on this convention were supposed to reintroduce him to the country to prove that he's presidential. But in the end, Donald Trump still couldn't give us any more than a watered-down version of Donald Trump. It's not enough to tell someone how great you're going to make them feel. Eventually, you actually have to do it. Gross. And Donald Trump he couldn't find the clitoris of America, which is, somewhere around New Hampshire, I think. At least on my last country it was. Okay, that's it. Cool. I'm gonna go take a shower. Hello and thank you for watching these first few episodes of Topical Cure. It's been a lot of fun to make and cover the RNC. Unfortunately, we won't be covering the DNC with such exhaustive coverage. Not for any political reasons, but, assume what you want to assume. We will have people on the floor, though, getting footage for us and covering it that way. So stay tuned.